All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. I got another watch list for you, and we have to talk about the overreactions and underreactions. Not only did you have a little bit of that today, and maybe that's really what we got since Friday, but you have a big event on Thursday, and now, surprisingly enough, I got to start with this pretty picture right here. The VIX is hitting a 10-year low, and now this is setting up for a very interesting dynamic because last time the VIX started off the lows in 2019 in January, it proceeded to hit like a couple more lows moving forward, and then now people are saying coming ahead of CPI, if you get a low VIX, you might get an overreaction, and then you might underreact and all of this stuff. But Chattadonia, volatility is alive and well, but you're not really seeing it. And now coming into the CPI on Thursday, we are going to have a lot to deal with. So I got a breakdown for you. I got the plays, all of that stuff. We're going to get into it, but let's talk a little bit about what happened here. If you didn't see it, the futures in pre-market, we were down after yesterday's little new high and sell-off, but then we were awaiting Jerome Powell in the morning, and then his written comments came out at this like ECB monetary policy thing, and he pretty much did not discuss anything related to policy. And right when the markets kind of picked up on that, everything started running up, but it wasn't as easy as it looked. You had a lot of pops and drops, and again, these movements were big, and even the VIX in 2022, it only went up 4.5% that year, 4.5 points on the total VIX, and that's after 2022, oil, 425 basis points of rate hikes, all of that. So keep in mind, we're getting these big swings. However, you've been getting this little trend here where a lot of names have been squeezing. Some of the bounce we've been getting from the end of the year is holding up, and now we are awaiting the data, and everybody is trying to kind of front run the quarter, and you have earnings along the way. So today was very simple, but there really wasn't much to it. And like we're about to talk about now, everything is coming down to the CPI. And yes, tomorrow I will have a CPI breakdown on the watch list for you. And yes, we are going to be live for it. So drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And Chad, oh, I got some plays. I tell you, I got small plays, big play. Oh, just get ready for it, baby. Run it.
Walking to the couch, it's the 2020 legs. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then you feel like it's a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
But right off the bat, ladies and gentlemen, like we said, today was an absolute nothing burger from Powell. The fact he did not touch on anything related to the current monetary policy. I don't even think he said anything about rates, like rate hikes, rate cuts, 5%, none of that. Even the questions on the Q&A panel, nobody discussed this, and it really led to Powell being this kind of event risk to nothing very quickly. Now, the thing I will point out is in the midst of today, we kind of saw it a little bit yesterday, but then that late day move, the stocks ended up coming down, and then the bonds were down. But today, the bonds went down. The market was up notably about 0.7 on the S&P, 1% on the NASDAQ, and then if you even go look at the dollar was a little bit stronger there. So this divergence between bonds and equities and things kind of doing their own thing, we need to watch this tomorrow, because other than that, when the VIX isn't really working and not showing you much, I think this divergence is pointing to the fact that we are probably going to get a wild CPI. So keep that in mind, but not much happened, and really most of the moves happened throughout the day. Again, you go back to the chart, you'll see by the first 30, 45 minutes, you close like barely above that, and you have to go through the whole day. You even had like Michelle Bowman, another one of the Fed speakers. She pretty much said the Fed is going to have to keep going. Neil Kashkari, again, he's a voting member too on the Fed. He said that the bond market is going to lose the game of chicken. That is a direct quote. So the Fed speakers talked. It didn't have the same reaction as yesterday, even though some people wanted to blame this on Bostic and Dolly. Like we said, it was more or less the outflows and kind of volume. And then even on that note, the volume was surprisingly low. I think today was actually the lowest volume of the year so far. So we'll see how it plays out. Tomorrow is going to be the lead up into CPI. I didn't mean to do that, but that's hype. But we're going to see what plays out with all of it. But now the next factor that we got to keep in mind, and this factored into today, is that earnings is just beginning, and you're actually watching some very subtle effects. You had Jefferies in the morning and a couple of other companies, and then there was even a lot of other news here too from just random names or even downgrades like on Bowen. But these earnings, people are reacting to it, and what I'm trying to tell you here is that as we move into tomorrow, you're going to get the home builders. It will cause sympathy plays. As we get the bank stocks on Friday, it will react, but even Jefferies today, people reacted to that in the financial names. So be on the lookout for any reports as we come up, and even if it's these random small companies, they can influence some of the run-ups on other names and give people ideas. There is also that JP Morgan Health Conference. It's still continuing. We haven't really seen too big of moves, but just keep your eyes out as well. But now, if we do nothing or we're doing the lead up in the CPI tomorrow, you just got to keep in mind that earnings is right around the corner, and this is now a big part of what is happening in the market. And even after we get over CPI, remember, market anticipates the event, they get it, causes a big move, and then everybody starts looking at the next catalyst. So I'm telling you now, don't forget about it. It is earnings, but that is your second key. And now coming into tomorrow to really finalize it, you are not going to be getting any real headline economic data. There's not going to be anything big. It's just going to be the mortgage applications. There will be a 10-year bond auction, and that might be able to make some waves, but most people are expecting that we do not move too much ahead of the CPI. You've seen this on certain data events where the market already moves, and then we kind of stay pinned where everybody's like, okay, I want to wait till we get the move before making a move, and that's kind of what you saw today, or they want to get the data before making the move. But now I want to bring this up. The November CPI, this had a gigantic sell-off right before, and believe it or not, it was actually the same setup. So even on November 9th, I'll go here to the chart to show you, but November 9th had no other accompanying data, and then November 10th, that is when you got the CPI. So remember, we brought this little area up here not too long ago. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it, but we brought this up here because it was the non-farm payrolls. They went down, and then they popped up. Then you had 2-3 days of melt up, and then this was a pretty big gap down, and then you pretty much closed where you started from the non-farms, and this had the same exact setup. Mortgage applications, nothing else, and then this big pop that led into that other rally. Well, November 10th was the CPI. So anything could happen. A lot of people are saying nothing will happen, so we're going to see, but it's all going to depend on flows getting ready for earnings, as well as kind of these jitters leading into CPI, the final expectations, and all of that good stuff. But it should be pretty simple. We will see what happens. The big data is on Thursday, so I hope you're ready. But let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different plays, and one of them, it's not on here. We're going to go over it after I go over these, but I got a good small one, and I got a random one that's going to surprise you. But let's start with Meta. I still have this in the long term. We are still holding that, but I decided to make a trade on it simply because I like the risk to reward, and I went short on 100 shares, I believe at like 130, 199, but the reason being, I think it's a decent risk to reward, even though the earnings is around the corner. That's what makes it risky. That could either work in my favor, or if things are good, especially after Thursday, I mean, people won't be afraid to run that up, but I'm really thinking it either goes back to 140, that's kind of like filling the gap and some, or you kind of come back to this 120 level. So it's like $8 to the downside and $8 to the upside. So I like it either way. I'm short. That's why I was thinking like that. So I think it's decent. Could make a couple $100 either way. I decided to go ahead with it, and I would like to have a nice little short position, and they have definitely been leading here. So nothing changes about the long term. Hopefully we could get this for a short little swing, but that is play number 1. Then play number 2. Don't look at me weird. I see you looking at me weird, man. HKD is a hype play. I know I made a hype play yesterday with the biotech. This one is not biotech, but if you remember HKD, this is that hype play from last summer in August. It went up like 32,000%. It was a low float. Nobody knew what the hell they did. Well, I'm in it right now because I did this play after hours. I'll show you on the fills, but they announced today that their lockup is expiring, but management put up this news update and they said, hey, we are doing a digital lockup, and they all agreed not to sell shares shares until 2024. So it had a little bit of hype, even to start the year. I believe they already hit like $40. So I decided to keep it small. I went $15 or $14.85 a share on 50 shares. So it's like $700 investment. Again, I could get clapped on way harder on other things. But like I'm saying, to start off the year, they did pretty good. But I'm not really banking on too much. I do kind of like the volume here, which I think is kind of unique to start the year. But we will see what happens. So holding that one, that is play number 2. Keep your eyes out for that. And then finally, play number 3, baby, Broadcom, AVGO. I call it AVGO, but I had this play yesterday. I took profits early in the morning. We were able to make some money on it, but I'm putting this on here because I think it could get very volatile with the little back and forth updates that have been happening. If you didn't see today, it dropped. I even closed out at like what? I think it was like 560 or something like that. I got like $12 a share from 572. It even dropped a little lower. Then all of a sudden, it started shooting back up. There was news of people saying that, well, maybe Broadcom is just doing this to negotiate a better deal with Apple. But then I believe the CEO of Broadcom, he said the article was irresponsible and said that's just not really true. So I think we might get some back and forth with it. And what I got to learn on this one yesterday, I mean, not only is it a small float, but sometimes you have to go really small shares, but this thing could move many, many dollars at a time. And if you're trying to get some intraday flips, it could be pretty good. So I like that there. We're going to be watching that one, but that is play number 3. And now, as far as everything else, there's one play I want to show you, actually. I really, really like it. Let's get into the plays. It is Netflix. Hold on. I'll show you what I did all day today. But we were talking. One, you need to get a long-term. Again, if you haven't been on Stream, man, and you see it, I trade to this account. I do futures. I do shares. I do options. We do a lot of these different things. But like we've always been saying, man, you need to have a long-term. And if you are trading without a long-term, if you are trading without saving 10% of your income in this environment throughout history, I don't think it's a good idea. And that long-term will save your life, okay? But we had a little trading lesson, and we said, listen, set yourself up a budget. If you have not learned anything from 2022, I'm telling you, getting a budget and keeping a budget, a monthly budget for trading in place, that will go a long way. And some people are like, well, I can only trade with a small amount. Should I go with the small future? Well, sometimes small futures can clap you very quickly. So what we were saying is even going on small shares. And now I did this one a while ago with like 10 or 20 shares in Netflix. I did it even smaller, and I shorted 5 shares of Netflix for $3.27. Yes, 5 shares. So every $5 on the stock will make you $25, or you'll lose $25, and it only costs $400 to open. But I want you to watch this, and let's see how it plays out, okay? But remember, stay alive and in the game. Hold your budget, and you would be surprised with what you could do with these shares adding up and all of that. And that's what we've been doing for the last couple of months, and it has been working out very well. But keep all of that in mind. But let's go to the first play. I closed out AVGO today. Got about like $380 profit, I think, or no, it says $380, but it was actually like $300 net. Closed that one out. It was good. Then I opened 300 shares of Wells Fargo. It was kind of at the bottom, and I said, hey, banks were selling off. I think they may get picked up a little bit, getting ready into earnings. But like I've been saying on the watch list, I'm pretty bearish about them. But they just dropped to the lowest level, lower than Friday or lower than Monday too. So I grabbed some, got 20 cents per share on here. It was like 60, 70 bucks of profit. Sold out of it just because I was too worried. And then I even closed out TSM, and I closed these out because I was like, well, I want to swap out these plays for that. I had old TSM. I was down $400 on this from last year. Came back up. I had a $20 loss. Decided to close out of it. That was on 50 shares. And then I opened up those 100 shares of Meta short. And then I did the HKD. How do you HKD? I closed, or I bought into this one after hours. 50 shares at $14.85. But those were the main plays. As far as everything else now, let's go to the active trader. Again, there's a bunch of other plays I'm not going to have on here, and you're going to see a lot of fluctuations. I'm not going to keep going over this because I really don't want to focus on it, but you'll see how the account balance is fluctuated. We got a lot of things balancing out. Remember, the name of the game is dropping it off at the right time. So keep that in mind, but you'll see here I'm still in that ES down 4,900 on that one. The MNQ, this is 2 of them. The new one that we opened on for the non-farms, and then this was an old one, but still riding both of those out. I even have the NQ from the non-farms down $5,000. I could have closed it out with a profit too, but still holding that. And again, we're going to use CPI to either average down or ride one of these out, and hopefully it balances out. The bonds gave up a little bit. I was almost break even on these yesterday, but today stocks went up and then the bonds went down. That was was that little divergence, but still really in the bonds. There's that meta play down $93 by the end of the day. The old Sava, I'm going to be watching this tomorrow. If those go positive, I'm down to get out of them, but only down $1 after getting washed at first. Tesla child support payments, and then Uber. There's a couple of old plays from last year like Uber, only down about $1 per share on it now, $1.97, and I believe even like Disney as well too. Remember, I was down about like 1,800, and I still have like Apple shares that I'm down like 1,800 on, and these are ones that I'm all writing out. And again, the reason is I have other things to balance it out, but I'm mainly more comfortable simply because these are all shares. And then granted too, there's a couple of plays we're still holding, got the Nvidia, and then I'm still down on both the Boeing and Lockheed Martins, but I want to show you this one here with Uber because I bought that play on December 1st, right? So let's just go to like February. Let's say you bought, you know, a random set of options, let's say like these 27s or so, right? And let's go back in time a little bit. Do these even go back to December 1st? So here were those options. And again, this is like assuming you got these, and these ones are actually in the money now by 50 cents, but I just want you to notice some of these options were going for 270 to 320, and it's in the money. You could kind of argue you were breaking even, so it would have been decent. Anything else out of the money, you would be down a substantial amount. Now, this isn't to say anything except for why I am comfortable holding the shares and how we're kind of balancing all of this. So it's kind of really what I am looking for and how I've been setting up from the end of the year till now with futures and all of that. It's all about big moves, making sure we take profits when they're up, and then same thing with any of the downside plays as well. But that's what I'm holding coming into all of this. I think it's going to be wild on CPI and Thursday. Tomorrow may have the potential to lead us, so we will see what happens. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate, healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to remember, baby, you don't get clean before you take a shower. Yeah, you don't have to start making the best moves to start making small, good decisions. You start right now and let it come to you, baby, little by little. But if you have the desire to make better decisions, it will pay out, and you just got to start, and everything will handle itself. So focus on that, baby. Keep your head in the game, and remember, we got to have the stamina. We got to pace ourselves for here. You got to validate yourself too, homie. Okay, you got to make it to the end, but we are just beginning. You have these opportunities and chances. Let these tools of knowledge, the balance, the discipline, it will take you into the end, baby. So let's bring it home, Chad. I will see you in the morning. I hope you're ready for CPI day. We got some homework too. But that's it. I love you. Drink that water, stay hydrated. Okay, it's going to be a good one. Okay, you feeling good? I'm just excited to be here. Okay, love you. Okay, horn.